Welcome to Higher Caliber.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Higher Caliber. It's episode 29 and apparently a holiday special. I didn't get the memo. I'm sitting here with Jared and Nick Schwan. Nick, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having me on here. Appreciate it.
I just want to take a second to say America is the best country ever in the world invented.
Best invented country.
We're the best, dude.
Yeah.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
It's a given.
Yeah.
Really.
So Nick, like I said, thanks for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, born and raised in the Ashland area, so I've just been around here my whole life. Grew up firehouse kid, so it's in the blood.
Hell
so,
yeah.
Mom worked in the ER and dad was a fireman, and yeah, so just kind of went from there. Growing up at the firehouse, and yeah, went to Hillsdale K through 12. Pretty cool, right? Just country. That's it.
Country stuff.
Just country stuff.
I think we can relate a little bit, going to Lucas.
Yeah. I would say you guys were Lucas, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Did you guys have Tractor Day?
we did.
Okay.
Tractor Day.
Okay.
FFA had to pay, was it $5 or $1 or something
There
to
was
drive your
money
tractor?
involved?
Yeah. We had to buy your coupon to be able to drive your tractor. So
I don't think we had any coupons.
I did that. Grandpa was Alice Chalmers, WD. Drove that to school.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
Open cab, and it's always freezing cold. So yeah, Carhartts and gloves, and
I think, do they still do it?
I think so.
Really?
I don't know what they're going to. You know, Hillsdale got the new school. Like
Okay.
it's this giant, paid for by the
Pipeline money?
pipeline
That's
money.
not there, apparently.
Right. Yeah. I don't know what's going to happen to that, but a huge facility. My niece goes there. It's nice. So, big fancy parking lot. I don't know if they're going to let the tractors come in and tear it up, but
I want to say that, I don't think Lucas still does it. They might have.
I don't think they do either.
Now, I
think they mixed
remember,
it.
I don't think I was a senior. I was in high school and somebody had a wreck. Like,
wreck their tractor.
I'm assuming it was at the only stoplight in town. But I think somebody hit something or.
We got to stop this now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I think that was the death of the
You get
Tractor Day.
You get hit at the only intersection.
Or people complain. It takes too long to drop their kids off at school because they're stuck behind the tractor.
Mhm.
You know, we don't have that in the city.
Right.
Did you just know you were going to be a firefighter when you were in school, or did you go a little?
Yeah, I think if you talk to anybody that was in school with me, they're like, it seems to make sense that he became a fireman, because I wore some of Dad's old shirts and he always talked about fire service, and because it was important to me. It was important to Dad. You know, I looked up to my dad, and everybody he worked with, they were my heroes growing up as a kid because I was around them all the time. He'd go into the station for fill-in. I was there. I'd hang out in the hallway, or like John Whitehouse. He was the old prevention guy. And he'd hang out. Oh, Freddie, you go ahead, and I'll keep an eye on Nick. So I'd hang out with John, and that's kind of how that was normal for me. Like firehouse was normal. I didn't know what it was like to have parents that worked Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. Or,
Right.
you know, they got every holiday off. We never did holidays on the holiday.
Right.
When's your birthday? Well, it's this day, but Mom and Dad are both working, so we're going to do birthday party next week.
Right.
Or Christmas is 2 weeks from now. So that is normal stuff for me. So, I think anybody that knew me growing up was like, there's no way this kid's going to do anything other than that.
Right.
Then I got to high school, and, I like building stuff and, going fast, race cars and stuff.
Yeah.
So, Buddy and I, we actually went to college together, University of Northwestern Ohio in Lima. And I have an associate's degree to build race cars. That's actually what I have a degree in.
Nice.
So that's the route I went. Everybody's like, what the hell? Like, what happened to the fire service? And it's like, I'll be a volunteer. Like, live a life of service. I'll do volunteer stuff, but I'm going to have a career doing something else. So I did the college thing, worked my butt off to get my degree, and was a representative for the university out to the SEMA show in Vegas, You guys know the SEMA
Oh,
show?
I've heard of it. Yeah.
So the Specialty Equipment Manufacturers Association, anything that's automotive, trucks, Jeeps, race cars, whatever. If it goes fast, makes it sound cool, look cool, it's there. So I was a rep for the university and got some good job offers, and then graduated December of 06, and 07, 08 is when the big racing industry tank happened. So the crash of 08 for
I was
everybody.
going to say, you mean when America tanked?
Yeah, when America tanked the first time and we thought it was the end of the world. So
don't worry, it's coming again.
yeah. So nobody was paying anybody to do anything cool unless it was required. So I'm like, this is a wake up check for me. I'm like, I need something that's dependable, reliable, good money, benefits, the whole 9 yards.
Sure.
So I started volunteering while I was an auto wrench. I actually started at a truck dealership, which is not race cars, right?
Right.
So, hated it. I mean, I loved what I did. I liked working on stuff, but it wasn't my passion. Like, it just didn't fit. So I knew moving forward, I needed to do something. So started volunteering, ran tow truck for a while, enjoyed that. I worked for a mom and pop organization, fantastic family to work for. Things got slow and they were going to lay me off, and I didn't want to put them in that position. So I found another shop temporarily while I started going to fire school, and got my 36, got my EMT basic, and then my advanced, and then went to department that I met Tim. That's where I met Tim at, where I was part-time. I was there until they disbanded the part-time. So I thought the world was over. I was in medic school at the time and failed medic school. Everybody fails medic school once, it seems like.
It happens, definitely.
It happens. So I'm not afraid to admit it. Medic school is tough and working full time. So, yeah.
So you're in the grind.
I was,
at that time.
working, Monday through Friday, plus weekends, running record and stuff. So it was a lot. And, not really anybody's fault other than just didn't happen. So I kind of revamped my process and looking for places that would hire somebody that wasn't a medic, because, when I was taking the test, I mean, you were like, I think at the time, Columbus Fire, I was one of 6,500 people taking the test, for an academy of 40.
I don't think people believe me when I tell them that it used to be hard to get a fire
It
job.
was very difficult. And even harder before, like, we got full time up until now. It's hey, you want to drive a cool truck,
Right.
But I mean, I took every test that you didn't have to be a medic. I tried. I was on multiple wait lists. Indianapolis, I was one of, I think, 8,800 people that took City of Indianapolis test. So
were you already lined up to go back to medic school, or were you just done with that?
Because I couldn't afford medic school the second time.
Okay.
The first time was expensive enough. So I was like, maybe I can find a department that would send me to medic school. That was kind of my angle.
Yeah.
Because everything I had done up to that point was all piecemeal. Like, I got my 36 here. I got my 240 here. EMT, like, I kind of went around. I didn't go to the OFA, the Ohio Fire Academy, to get everything there. So
Right.
I wasn't the traditional fire student. So that's kind of what catered my choice on where to go. And my full-time gig, I was actually working in the ER for a year as a medic, as an advanced EMT at the time. So I was still testing and got hired down in the Columbus area. And they actually sent me to medic school. So I went to Grant Medic School. Fantastic program. Even if I had not failed medic school the first time, like, that, I think, is probably like what you base all medic programs off of. I'm biased because I went there and I also now teach there. But
Sure.
So you're happy you went?
I am very happy. I mean, trauma was done. My trauma rotation was at Grant.
Sure. And that's
My pediatric rotation was done at Nationwide
Did
Children's.
they just get done lecturing and they're like, you guys want to go step in?
Yeah. So class was, it went by unit days, and I was on 2 units at a time. So I went every 2 unit day during the week, and then all my clinical stuff was on my days off. So my job for a year was medic school. They paid me to be a medic student, which was fantastic. They offered me something a lot of people don't have the privilege to do. So I am very grateful that they took that risk with me. And Of course, I paid him back when I left. That was part of the contract. Like,
Right.
when you leave and under 3 years, you owe us everything. And I paid him back. So,
Right.
But yeah, super, super grateful for the experience. I mean, it was Grant, Riverside, Doctors West, and Nationwide Children's. So
you get to see a lot of cool things.
Right. Yeah. More than I thought possible.
Sure.
Yeah, for sure. So
I just have to say kudos to you for going back and completing medic school, because there was a time when I was in medic school and I thought to myself, if I don't pass this, there's no way I'm going back and doing it again. Like, I'll figure something else out.
It's a good thing they accepted your bribe.
Here's $50. No, it's I agree 100%. Like, I was there. Like, my headspace was not. I was like, I'd never really. Not everything came easy, but there were very few things. If I didn't put my mind to it and like dig in and do it, then I didn't succeed.
Right.
So like medic school was like the big crushing blow of like, I maybe am not cut out for this. So it took a minute, thanks to the support of my family, especially my wife. I made it through this very difficult year of medic school at Grant. I mean, because the entry test is like college anatomy and physiology.
Sure.
Like, you just had to know this stuff to even be eligible to apply for the class. So I was like, oh, okay. I know the bones. I know whatever. So I sit down, I'm like, the Krebs cycle? What? I don't know. What is that?
Were you one of the only advanced that were in the class, or was there a pretty good?
I think it was one of two advanced EMTs at the time at Grant. The first time in medic school, there was a handful of us that had been in previous classes together, either basic or advanced, through the same program. And we're like, oh, hey, you're back. Yeah, I'm back. So yeah, down there, I was one of. It was crazy. So I think we had 25 people that signed up for my medic class, and we started day one with 22, and we graduated 8.
Wow.
I mean, the attrition rate is pretty high at Grant, and rightfully so. Like,
right.
you want to turn out
the way it should be.
And what is it for most people? Cardiology?
That's where a lot of people had probably Grant. Yeah.
We dumped a lot off in ours and airway. I was very surprised.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, cardiology was tough. When you get into the general med, like, is this appendicitis? Is this, a gallbladder attack?
Yeah.
For us, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah,
but
let's see what the CT scan says.
Yeah, you had to know. I'm like,
Right.
we are going to be medics at the end of this, right? Like, I'm not a PA at some point. Like,
right.
You would kind of think,
I want to be a medic so I can be a firefighter, please.
yes, that's
Yeah.
So,
Unfortunately.
And that was my goal. Like, I want to be a full-time fireman. At the time, I'm like, I am a medic because I have to be. But I'll be honest, I don't mind EMS.
Right.
I prefer fighting fire for sure. I think we all do.
Most of us do. I would say a very high percentage of us
But
do.
I certainly enjoy a good squad call, not toe pain from the nursing home at 2:30 in the morning.
So have you noticed that there are people out there that don't like firefighting and they like being medics?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. They're very few and far between, but they are out there.
Blows my mind.
Dealt with a couple of them. Like, the one guy was like, I kind of didn't realize there was going to be so much fire stuff. They're like, dude, it's in our name.
Your title.
Right.
What do you think that FF means?
Fire department, what?
Yeah.
So he moved on, which is fine. So, and if you only want to do EMS, that's fine. There's
Definitely
nothing
not for
wrong with
everybody.
There's room. There's room to just do EMS.
that. Yeah.
For sure.
At the
Cleveland
nursing
EMS.
home.
Yeah. Go to Cleveland EMS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
If you want.
I don't want that.
I don't think I want that at all.
It's not my game.
See a private ambulance companies driving down the street and I'm like, you sorry sons of bitches.
Yeah. So I had 2 goals for my working career life. I never wanted to work fast food. I accomplished that. And I never wanted to work private EMS. So I was very fortunate to not have to do that.
Nice.
So that mission accomplished.
I always told myself that I wasn't going to work private EMS, and then
You loved it.
I didn't love it. I think I gained a lot of knowledge in certain aspects of it. It's a different side than emergency medicine.
Yeah.
I respect the job for the most part, what they do, but it's not for me.
Yeah. I got a little bit of a taste of that because when I started where I'm at now, we were still doing transports, non-emergency transports for.
So it was basically private hospital. EMS.
Yeah. So, bad labs from Granny Smith at such and such nursing home, and they need to go now.
Right. Of course.
No, they don't. They've had bad labs for 2 months. Right. Why now? So, yeah.
I remember having an ambulance driver telling us that they did the same thing we did. I'm like, you're not that wrong.
Ambulance drivers.
80% of the time, you are correct, sir.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you work private EMS?
Mm-hmm.
You did?
For a little bit.
Yeah. Kind of.
Yeah. Yeah, the company was on its way out when when I got in there. So,
did you actually have a card when you worked?
Half of it I didn't.
I got him hired as a driver.
The employer was nice enough because the person that I was helping had her wrist injured, so I was the lifter. But I was also in EMT school.
Oh, okay.
So it was cool.
Yeah.
But, dude, I don't know why it's so much worse than hearing tones go off, but when the phone rings, I wasn't about it. When it's 3 a.m. and you're like, I think it's something about like dispatch being like, you have to go here, 911. You're like, oh, okay. But something about somebody being like, hey, can you guys go?
It's like, can we schedule this? No, I'm busy.
Yeah.
Second Tuesday of next week, please. That'd be preferred. Or give it to C Crew. Right? I don't know.
What crew are you? You don't have to say.
I'm
you don't have letters.
Technically shift 3, so I guess
that
equates to C Crew.
I used to be on C Crew, so I could say that. Give it to those guys.
Yeah.
At one point in time, I was on all the crews. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I don't have a good segue into talking about cancer in the fire service, so we're just going to start talking about it.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah.
Why don't you read me off some of your statistics? Because I don't know if mine are right, and I can't read the screen. Why don't you read that, Tim?
So jumping into cancer. So it's a leading cause of death among firemen. Studies show that firefighters may have a greater risk of some types of cancers than the general population. 14% higher risk of dying from cancer than the general U.S. population. And 66% of firefighter deaths between 2002 and 2019 attributed to cancer.
Yeah.
Is that about what you got?
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty close. Like, so little personal side note there is, I was just at the 2023 IFF Fallen Firefighter Memorial this year. It's always held in Colorado Springs at the memorial every September. So it's always the third Saturday is the service, and then you got stuff during the week. But so we were just out there for that for my dad. He got put on the wall this year because he died of occupational cancer in 2016, in September 2016. So last year, 75% of the names were cancer, ruled cancer. So yeah, it's insane really when you think about how many people, like just in general, like so-and-so's aunt has breast cancer and so-and-so's uncle's got, gallbladder cancer or whatever.
Right.
But then you get into our narrow world of the fire service and it's like, yeah, that department's got 10 guys right now or,
right.
whatever. And they rattled off, I think it was a Calgary Fire Department out of Canada. They had 100 names. I mean, it just kept.
And they're dudes in their 30s and 40s.
Yeah. They get hit really hard with COVID too. And that's a whole other thing. But COVID and cancer, like it killed a lot of people in the last 2-3 years. So, yeah.
So what's the, I mean, do we know what the connection is? I mean, is it a single event? Is it just being around multiple incidents? Is it like?
It's cumulative for sure. I mean, I think any one event that we're exposed to, just think about the stuff that's in your house, couches and clothes and toys and just everything in general. It's all made of plastic. It's all made of some chemically altered, bioengineered something. And when it burns, it's bad. Even wildland firemen, some of the stuff, like some of the heavy metals that are coming out in wildland fires, like cadmium and
what was that?
Cadmium and butadiene. Like that's the number one.
I don't know what those are.
1 and 2 heavy hard hitter chemicals that's in wildfires. And it's just a product of the stuff that burns in nature. So, and then you get into the guys that, like LA, where they're around a bunch of houses plus all the wildland stuff. So,
Right.
so any one event is really could be the one that you get a dumpster fire, car fire. So every dumpster fire is a hazmat fire until proven otherwise.
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
Sure.
yeah, I don't think it's going to get any better for sure. So,
was there any issues linking your dad for service connected? Did you guys have any issues with that?
so when we got started, I was like caught in between where I had been working full time and where I'm at now, and that was part of the reason I left. But primarily, I wanted to come home. That's really why it was. I made the move. But at that same time, it was May of 2016, May 9th. Dad had been kind of acting weird and whatnot, and like, I don't know, like he and mom had just come back from a trip to Australia and New Zealand. And we thought maybe he had a stroke on an airplane. That's kind of what started it. And we're like, no, not that dad was old, but like, could be. He had blood pressure issues.
Sure.
Not a big deal. So, going through tests and stuff, like it just seemed not right. So his doctor at the time was like, we're going to send you for a scan. So when it came back, a brain tumor, then that starts a whole new realm of stuff, tests and more MRIs and imaging and labs and all sorts of things. So we got referred down to the James Cancer Center in Columbus through OSU. And right away, they hooked us up with the neurocancer people, and fantastic facility. Like I have zero complaints about what they did. Treated us great, whatnot. So anyways, they did their tests, and the neurologist who was in charge of dad's case goes, I can't 100% say that this is because of your dad's career, but we only see this in like 3 key careers. Fire service, number 1. Anybody like coal mining in general, heavy equipment, and some shipyard workers. So dad's cancer was a glioblastoma. So when they found it was about the size of an egg right down between both halves of his brain. So completely inoperable, completely, usually it's a death sentence when you get it. So, so we knew for the most part, the job did it. But when you're in that stage of treatment and stuff, like that's not anybody's focus.
Sure.
OSU, like the James didn't make that stance for us, but the doctor, the way he worded it, left pretty much no doubt that that's what happened. So after, it was actually a year and a half, I think, after dad passed away, that we were put in contact with Bureau of Workers' Comp, and they actually contacted mom, and they're like, hey, Mrs. Schwan, your husband's death was line of duty. So they ruled it line of duty death before we even made that decision or tried to, see what it was about. And then that led to a lawyer. Karen Toronto, she does a lot of BWC cases in her office in Columbus. Her husband is a Columbus fireman, and she does a lot of cancer cases for those guys. When a municipality kicks back, they're like, you didn't get cancer from the job. I've been a fireman for 40 years. Like, you can't tell me.
Yeah, you hear it all the time.
It wasn't when I slung ice cream at the Dairy Dolly. It was the fact that I've done this job for 40 years. So she's the one that takes those challenges on, and she actually helped us get that for dad and for mom. So
because that's the last thing you want to deal with.
Right. Yeah. I mean, we didn't know. I wouldn't have known where to start and with mom. So when it started, I was like, is this one of those drawn out, like, if you or your loved one has been diagnosed with mesothelioma, call this number.
I done fucked around and caught mesothelioma.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, Karen was an absolute godsend, and she walked us through all the stuff. I mean, she just said, hey, come down to this meeting, sign some paperwork, and I'm going to take care of the rest of it. And she went to bat, and so the crazy part is BWC is the one that initially is like, yep, this is for sure line of duty. And
usually they're not.
They're not at all. Right. Like, really like, nope. Well, So then IFF is kind of like, oh yeah, I guess, yeah, maybe, kind of. So it actually wasn't until, I can't remember when we did the paperwork, but I was actually vice president at the time of our local, and I called down there. I'm like, hey, just out of curiosity, like, does this make sense to you? I'm not really so much doing this for my dad, but moving forward for us in general, like, how does this work? And she's like, what? Run this by me again. So she's like, oh, we got to get paperwork to you right now. So they scrambled and they're like, yeah, your dad will be on the next ceremony. So they immediately acknowledged it, pushed it through, and then National Fallen Firefighters actually will not do it because it was before 2018. That's their cutoff.
What?
Yeah. So if you die of cancer now, you can be put on both the National Fallen Firefighter wall and the IFF.
Huh.
But if it's prior to that, nope.
Why is that? Do you know?
I don't know. They didn't really have a good, because the presumption law kicked in then.
Okay.
If you guys are familiar with the presumption law, they're like, oh, we just assume that if you have cancer, it's the job. We're not going to argue with it. It's just presumption. Unless you're, Mike Palumbo, that brother. I mean, he just, the law's named after him, and his municipality's like, nope, didn't get it from the job. Sorry.
Right.
His wife's still fighting that. So it's crazy. So we were very fortunate. It'd be best if Dad was still here, but
sure, for
what happened, we were able to use it for example for a lot of people and
definitely.
And whatnot. So,
has that changed the culture around your department?
I think it has. We were already kind of really pushing towards trying to watch some of that stuff anyways. We're still a very aggressive department, so we're not the clean cab concept, but we do, gross decon on scene. We got the Dawn dish soap and the scrub brush and that, it's shown to get like 90% of the crap off of us. Yeah. So, the wipes, the fire wipes, that's big. The new decon, I call it the decon juice, but the stuff we put in the extractor, that new stuff is really good. So we've implemented all of that and making sure that, we no longer go do any training inside the station through like the dorm room. Like we used to go up there,
right? Sure.
Black out, turn the lights off, and crawl around,
smoke
do
some
stuff.
Cigarettes.
Yeah, do like the smoke machine and stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, we don't do that now. Like we keep all that crap out of living quarters in the bunk room. So,
do you think fire departments should be held liable if they have the means to like do gear protection and mitigation and they don't? Especially if they have the funding for it, but they refuse to.
Yeah, I think so. Especially like the exhaust systems.
Yeah.
We've got the Plime event system on our trucks now, and the new station has air hawks. So there's no hoses at the second station, but it replaces the air in the station in the bay floor like 100% within 10 minutes or something.
That's a lot better than nothing.
Right. So, because it used to be you turn the trucks on and just the whole bay be full of smoke and, that stuff's terrible.
Yep.
So, if departments are not doing anything, they should 100% be paying the families.
Yeah,
for sure.
Especially the fire department,
because it's preventable.
Yeah,
and some of this stuff is preventable. Some of it's not. Like,
at the end of the day,
you're never going to make this job safe.
At the end of the day, it's your choice to go into the shit.
Right.
Yep. But the after effects is kind of on, because if all your guys want ventilation systems and they say no, then is it your fault for not leaving the department? You're not going to really do that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Have you guys talked about, I know it's kind of a new thing, but the PFAS or the PFA?
Yeah. And the foam and our gear. And
what's that?
Define the irony of the stuff that we're wearing is actually
saying that the turnout gear that we're wearing
causes cancer.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Yeah. It contains chemicals that,
are they just saying like a carcinogen because you can't really get away from that? So what's the whole deal?
So the material, the way I understand it, and this might not be 100% accurate, but the way I understand it is the material that they make our stuff out of, like the outer shell, the gear, the inner liners, the hoods, to make it flame resistant and heat resistant and all that. It's some type of chemical that makes that Nomex and whatever else, that when it under normal circumstances, it's fine. But when you put it in the environment we operate in,
when you heat
it
it
off
up.
gases.
Oh,
The off
I get it.
gassing is what that chemical byproduct.
So they're putting asbestos in the fire gear is what you're saying.
Yeah, essentially. Yeah.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. That's what it turns into. Yeah.
So I see you pulling up the IAFF thing. Are they
Yep.
planning on like slowly bringing out some gear that doesn't do that? Or are they just saying
They're on the hunt to try to get PFAS free gear.
yeah. So IFF is actually like they've been trying to get this lawsuit against like Nomex or be DuPont.
Yeah.
So
oh, well, why didn't they just join the club with everybody then?
right. Yeah. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting because like foam, what do we have to replace what we're using? Nothing. There's nothing.
There's some new stuff, and I don't know if
Snake oil.
I'm not going to say the name of it.
Crystals. Crystals and snake oil.
Well, I just know what he's talking about. I'm
Yeah,
just saying
a
it's
lot of
snake.
people. Did you get any new foam at your department?
We have F500. I don't know. That's the newest stuff we got. But
Yeah, we got that.
yeah. Which is not. I don't think it's any better.
I don't know.
So
It's like the old adage that if you have a hybrid, it doesn't do the job well at both things or whatever it is.
yeah, it doesn't
Right.
do any one thing great.
That's it.
It does
Yeah.
everything.
It's like a combi tool.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For real.
You know,
The crash axe.
It's
It's a pry bar cutting tool.
Right.
Whatever. It does nothing.
The best tool out there is a Pulaski, though. That's the only combi tool that I will 100%
Yeah, because you can put woods out with
get
it.
behind. Yeah.
So you guys have F500.
Yeah.
You guys just switched to it.
Yeah.
And
And I don't know. I mean, I don't know how well it works, but they said this foam causes cancer, and then everybody was scrambling. It's like,
I guess that's
go.
kind of fair. You know,
I mean, I hats off to them for
Do you
taking the initiative and trying to get something else.
yeah. Do you guys know what the deal on the saunas are? Are they in or out?
So as far as I know, they're still in. We've got 2 of them.
You guys have a sauna. I
Actually, we have 3.
keep hearing that you guys have a sauna.
We do.
Because I kept hearing that
Now,
Sauna
it was,
time.
it had adverse effects or something.
Now, I think originally, not when these saunas came out, but when the idea of that came out, you were on a bike. Are you still on a bike? Like exercising in? Okay.
That sounds like hell.
Well, and I think I want to say initially when that came out,
getting on a bike
right.
in a sauna.
you got in a sauna, and then you got like on a bike or something, and kind of
Just turn the sauna up more, dude.
because
Right.
you were sweating out all the stuff,
Yeah.
and you were.
Yeah.
But I think that was actually being linked to like
Well, they say
heart attacks and stuff.
well, yeah, I guess
Yeah.
it could go that way for sure.
you fight a fire all night and then you get on a bike in a sauna and then you just better buddy system in the sauna.
I was on a
guess.
fire the other night, and I got back at 4 or 5 in the morning. If it would have been like, Tim, you need to get on the bike,
You'd
I
be
probably
like,
would
no.
have flipped a desk.
Yeah, we don't have an exercise bike in our thing, but we do. So the sauna is part of our post fire decon for
Okay.
us for personnel. So how it works is we get a fire, come back, we do gross decon on scene, scrub down with the soap there and come back, and then we clean everything. But usually off duty guys will start working on a bunch of the gear decon, and then like duty guys, we start rotating them through. So the policy is we strip down and go into the locker room, and then do a cold shower as cold as we can stand.
Okay, so that must be the
So a cold shower to get all
important
the
step.
gross particulates off, like the heavy stuff.
Yeah.
And then up to the sauna for 20 minutes. I can't remember the temperature that we have to start at and then go up to, but I know me personally, I sweat like crazy. So it's like a complete waterfall. And I mean, you can smell it. You'll be in the sauna after your first shower and you're like, I don't think it's that bad. And
Do
then
you
get
really
in the
do a
sauna.
cold shower though?
Yeah. I mean, I try and get it as cool as possible.
That makes sense though, because the thing I heard about the sauna
It's about
was
the pores.
the
I think
pores
it-
open and all stuff goes in. So I guess if you Get it all off.
If you're doing your gross
and then,
decon, you're closing your pores up and getting all the crap off.
Close my pores up.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you go sweat it out, and man, it's crazy. Like you'll be sitting there towards the end, and you're like, it smells like a house fire in here.
Yeah.
And then you realize
and it was all inside of you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Damn.
It's crazy.
Well, even, now we don't have a sauna, but you get a good house fire and your first couple showers.
You just smell it.
Yeah. You can still smell it.
Yeah.
You know, it's inside you.
So yeah, after the sauna, then you go downstairs and get a regular shower and then fresh clothes and back in service. So try and aim for like half hour to get back in service.
Is that just the guys that were like interior or doing overhaul or?
Yeah, pretty much anybody that was there that was in gear, on air, whatnot. So, and then including like anybody that shows up for investigation.
Okay.
So those guys coming in.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So, I guess the science supposedly is there and it makes sense. Like after you sit through it, and like I said, you smell it after.
Do you have any like required like hydration? Like, do you have to be, do they make sure you're drinking water or some kind of fluid replacement?
There's nobody that's like forcing stuff down you. You know, when you come out and hey, you finished a bottle, now you got to finish a bottle of Gatorade.
Right.
We're not really doing that, but we do push it. Like come out, hand guys water bottles and Gatorade. And
that's a crazy thing.
Type of stuff.
Usually your body's like, hey, I'm thirsty, bro.
Yeah. Well, I just didn't know, like with the whole sauna thing, like, hey, we're going to make you sweat even more.
Oh, I see what you're
make
saying.
sure you're pushing it in.
But we don't.
That's what I meant.
We don't have the benefit of, there's 4 engine companies in staging.
You don't have enough people.
We don't have enough people for that. So usually you come out and you're like, hey, I'm throwing another bottle on me and I'm going to grab that water quick and I'm going to go back in.
Sure.
They need a PFAS Camelback.
Invent it, bro. You mean a non-PFAS?
Non-PFAS.
Well, I'm
PFAS
assuming
free.
that's not going away, but yeah. You're right. I should get in front of the curve there. Yeah. Dude, speaking of firefighting, how do you feel about acronyms and fighting fires? Do acronyms really fight fires?
Yeah. Like going from VES to VEIS.
Yeah.
Because we didn't know we needed to close the door.
Kind of isolate, bro.
We need the letter to tell us to close the door.
I hate acronyms. I absolutely.
Right.
They have their place, but they can't keep changing, dude. Constantly.
I guess. Like what's your most hated acronym?
Slicers.
I was going to say that.
Fuck slicers.
Is that still a thing?
That?
I said that because I remember like a Facebook post or something you put up about slicers. I'm like, he said exactly what I was thinking.
I hate slicers. I don't. Come on.
Nice Wonder's going to watch this and be like, you son of a bitch.
He's not a slicers guy, is he?
Yeah.
Is he really?
I'm pretty sure.
Is that just because he teaches fire officer now?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm not going to speak
I
for
don't
him.
even remember what slicers means, but.
Side note, Nice Wonder was a fantastic chief. Like, I liked working for him. So, but I never pictured him a slicers guy.
I mean, maybe it helps people remember things, so it's not the worst thing ever, but.
Yeah. Or doing Lunar.
Yeah.
When it's in the shit. Lunar, really?
I just, maybe it's me, but I can't remember acronyms when I'm busy, like on a fire.
There's so many things you automatically do.
Right.
Like VEIS.
Acronyms are good for the command board guy.
But then again, you have to look back and, like we say that things are fireman proof, right? Because
there's no such thing.
Well, you have to make things fireman proof because, the old adage is we're a bunch of retards. So you got to make things simple.
I pick things up, I put things down. That's right. It's that simple.
You got to make it simple for people.
You got a bunch of guys that are already dumb enough to run into a burning building. You can't be adding, 4 different acronyms on top of it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But I've never been to a fire officer class, so what do I know?
You should go.
I'm just bitching.
Go.
I guess so.
I'm going to go again in the spring.
Where'd you get yours through? You do Fire Officer 1?
I did 1 and 2 at Bowling Green.
So Nice Wander was the one. Okay.
Yep.
So we got put through the Ohio Fire Chiefs Fire Officer 1. So like Chief Steele.
Yep.
You ever met Chief Steele?
Oh yeah. Jim Steele. Yeah.
What a commanding dude. Like I've never worked for him, so I don't know what it's like to work for, but what a fantastic instructor.
Mm-hmm.
If you have a chance to take anything from him, like he's one of those guys that walks the room and everybody's like, oh. it's him.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's that guy.
The last time I saw him, we were doing well, you might have met him before. Those burns we used to do like up in Toledo and stuff.
Yeah.
He was up there. He was the ignition guy.
Was he really?
Yeah.
Okay.
The crazy guy throwing all the pallets and
making it nice inside for everybody.
That was him.
That was him.
That was him.
That was him. That was a fantastic time, by the way.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
Before you had to have like cards for everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'm not a fire instructor, but I will gladly sit here on a hose line and make sure that nobody dies in here.
Right. Exactly.
Just soaking up heat all day and
all day.
Star Diner.
How do you feel about the direction of training now? Do you think it's you think it's going woke?
I don't know. Oh man. I think with the ever-changing world and the EPA creeping into literally everything, it's making it very difficult to train, especially new people, effectively. A Class A burn, an acquired structure burn, it is almost impossible to do because, you got to come in, you got to strip all the shingles off the roof. You got to strip the tar paper. You got to cover all the holes. And it's this long list. If you haven't been a part of a acquired structure burn,
I never have.
It's an enormous amount of paperwork. So they have to come in. Somebody's got to pay for the asbestos abatement. Sometimes the city will pay for it. Sometimes land bank will pay for it. A lot of times it comes out of the fire department's budget. So you're looking at, thousands of dollars for a couple $1,000 to do just for them to come in and be like, yep, that tile floor is asbestos, or nope, didn't find any. So that's got to get done first. And then they got to do all this other stuff. So it's time. And usually because it takes time, the people tearing down the building are like, hey, we need to get this down because we're going to build, a Dollar General here in 2 weeks. And
lucky guess.
Yeah. So it complicates everything. So it's getting very difficult.
So most people are like, well, might as well just not do it.
Yeah. I think the easy solution is to be like, oh, we can go over to,
a burn building
and do this propane fueled fire room, which it's good because you can control the experience 100%. You have a burn tech behind a room, behind a wall with a little window that's like, it's like watching the turkey cook in the oven. Right. Nope, they haven't popped yet. So they can do some stuff, but you're still limited to propane. It's not a Class A fire.
Right. It's definitely not the same.
It's not the same.
And you would hate to lose somebody to a house that you intentionally burnt.
Right.
That's a huge liability.
I mean, I've been in some training fires and acquired structures where it's like, we might have done this too much. We might have pushed the envelope a little too much.
Especially with new construction. That's almost impossible to burn that sucker twice.
I haven't burned anything new for like a training burn. I haven't burned anything new yet. I don't know how you could.
Right.
I mean, you would practically have to build an entire room in a room to be able to do it.
Right.
Especially to fit the requirements of the new requirements for acquired structure. So, yeah, it's getting more difficult for sure.
Yeah. I feel you.
Yeah.
Tell me about the TACMed stuff you've been doing.
TACMed. So, I'm brand new into that. Where I volunteer, we actually run the TEMS unit for the county. So,
can you explain that acronym?
So, people's acronym. Oh, that's an acronym. So, Tactical EMS.
Yeah.
I mean, that's TEMS. So, depending on where you go, it's SWAT medic or SRT medic or tactical paramedicine or whatever. So, ours is TEMS, Tactical EMS. So, it's just a small, I now make the fourth person on the team. So I'm the new guy, which I think is fine. So just kind of new to it all. And, I go to the trainings with the SRT guys. So the SRT team is made up of city and county.
Search and rescue team.
Yeah.
Everything's a freaking acronym.
Yeah. So special response team.
Oh, that's
SRT. Yeah.
Okay, I'm wrong. I don't know. I thought there was a search and rescue.
Oh, there's SRT, there's CERTA, there's SORTS, there's, I don't know, whatever.
Rescue Task Force. RTS.
RTF, yeah.
RTS.
Yeah, so you got,
I told you. Maybe it's because I'm illiterate. That's why I hate acronyms. Anyway.
I can't figure them out.
Yeah. So there's a difference between RTF, Rescue Task Force, and just like regular SWAT medicine. So RTF implements the actual fire department into a broader role. You get into mass casualty and triage and casualty collection points and all that type of stuff, where being a SWAT medic or TEMS medic or whatever, you're with the team and
you're there for the team.
Yeah,
right?
You're there primarily for law enforcement. And then second is civilians and third is the bad guy. So
the perp.
Bad person. So that's kind of the big difference there, where, you know, wherever you work, everybody's showing up for a rescue task force event. Where if it's a high priority target on a, you know, SRT hit, you're just there with those guys. Fire department's usually not involved. So, and depending on where you're at, medics can carry. Some medics can, some medics can't. So, yeah.
What about you?
I currently cannot. So we're in the process of getting to that point. But
so would they want you to take their in-house training, or like
I have to go? It's a 40-hour critical response class. Essentially, it's the same thing that like probation officers have to take.
Okay.
So that's actually in the spring where I'm going to be going with the probation people to go through their 40-hour class, and I shoot with them. And then I take an 8-hour like risk assessment, de-escalation kind of class. So it's all through OPATA, but it's not.
Did they ask if you're a gun guy at all when you were interviewing?
They didn't actually. I just started training with them, and we train 2 days a month, first and third Wednesday. So just doing my stuff and medical stuff and watching what they do. And they're like, "Hey, are you interested in carrying?" I was like, "Well, yeah."
I would much rather
have a way to defend myself or defend, you know, a downed officer as opposed to.
I don't want to have to pick up your gun.
Right. Yeah. So, those guys are cool with it. I'm like, if you guys are cool with it, I'll move forward with it. So there's a lot of red tape because I'm not a peace officer. So, the liability to carry falls on the department. And there aren't a lot of fire departments that are like, oh, I would completely let our firemen carry firearms wherever they want to go. So, and that's, so it's a lot to work through, but that's through where I volunteer at. So
it's a very cool opportunity though.
It is. Yeah. And, you know, we talk because a couple of guys are like, oh, think about switching sides. No,
definitely not.
No, I have no desire to do traffic stops. And, you know, if I wanted to kick in doors, that'd have been something a long time ago. But I want to be there for the right reasons. And to me, to be there for the cops, they need somebody right there then, not staged 6 blocks away, not on standby on the station. They need a medic there right then.
What is their medic or not medic, but I guess what is their first aid type training? Do they all just do the regular stop the bleed?
Yeah.
Stuff
So I'm the stop the bleed instructor, and they've been sending a lot of the new hires through me. And then for the SRT guys, I did like a March class. So, you know, your massive hemorrhage, your airway, that you know, that acronym, which it's like TCCC in the Army.
Yeah.
So it's that class. So bandaging, tourniquet application, hemorrhage control, just down and dirty initial trauma treatment. That's what all those guys get. So
cool.
Yeah. And that's really all the gear we carry. Like, we don't need an ambulance in our backpack. We need stuff that stops the bleeds, and then we can go from there.
Gotta do all plug holes and
drag. I mean, that's really, you get them out and
seal the box.
Yep. Seal the box.
Tourniquet the limbs and pack the junctions, son.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, really that's all, you know, global war on terror stuff that's come home to SWAT medicine. His SWAT medicine didn't used to be that way. It was
Right.
like, well,
It was a really long lag before
it was terribly
cat tourniquets showed up, and
I remember
it's been like, at least where I'm at, it's been like 4 years. Like the last 4 years, we got a cat tourniquet.
Yeah.
well, like when I went to EMT school or whatever, tourniquet, they're like, oh, you can't put on a tourniquet.
You don't do tourniquets. They're going to lose a limb.
Yeah, they'll lose their limb.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, I talk to you, I hear that.
We had tourniquets coming out of our ears too.
Yeah. You're like, they just put on tourniquets and run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do PT. I'm like, oh, well, there's that.
Yeah.
And now tourniquets are, I don't want to say overused, but I'm a frequenter of the Cop Activity YouTube channel. And like the one I saw the other day, the dude just throws the, and I can probably throw this up on the video, but it's a cop in Chicago. He gets shot. His arm gets all chewed up, and he starts putting on his own tourniquet, and then his fellow officer comes over and puts it on for him. He puts it on his arm and didn't even use a windlass at all. He just made it tight, and the dude was still leaking. I'm like, oh, now you're just putting like a bow on it, being like, just a little bit of knowledge.
It's not a Christmas present.
Exactly.
Tighten that shit down.
Like if it doesn't hurt putting it on, it's not tight enough.
Why do you think he did that? Was it a lack of training or?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And of course, like it's easy to sit here now, Monday morning quarterback, but if you still see blood coming out,
right?
Common sense would say, tighten it.
But I think some of it's just like, I have a tourniquet, I will put it on if somebody gets, you know what I mean? It's just,
Well, and that was one of the things, like with some of the trainings I've been to when I went and got my tactical emergency critical care, my TECC. I went through a bunch of the Metro Life Flight tactical instructors. They're the ones that taught my class. So they brought in this group, like the Cleveland Moulage group. All they do is go around for all these trainings, and they are the victims.
Mm-hmm.
So the safe word is real world. So you apply tourniquets until they tell you real world, and you feel for when you lose the pulse.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you're actually, there's a big difference between just carrying a cat tourniquet and be like, hey, put this on the limb, and you just turn this thing and you Velcro it and you're done.
Right.
Like I think people sometimes like, well, I have one, right? That's good enough.
Yeah. It's a little freaking comfort blanket. Like,
it's the false sense of security because they keep it in the plastic because it keeps it protected.
Dude,
and it's all nice.
One of my bugaboos, man.
Take that out of the plastic. The shrink wrap.
I hate opening up a medical bag and seeing a tourniquet that's in shrink wrap, that's never been taken out. And I'm like, what is this?
And that's another good indicator that you're getting a legit tourniquet from a good company when it comes prepped, like ready to just pull out, and it's not shrink wrap plastic. They still have a seal on it, but yeah. If you see that, you're like, okay, that's not okay. Open that when your hands are completely covered in blood and you're biting it open.
Yeah.
No, bro. And what about the other parts of your body that are going to get shot? Like what happens when you get shot in the armpit?
Yeah.
And you're like just sitting there. Oh no.
Yeah.
I don't know. All I know is we went from no tourniquet use to a whole lot of tourniquets.
They're even, I've taken gun classes where they incorporate tourniquets into your, they're typically a 2-day class. Mm-hmm. They're like, hey, here's a tourniquet. And like, I took one class through John Murphy, and you had to wear pretty much like an IFAC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then throughout the day, like, hey, you're shot or whatever, this is spurting or this is oozing, fix it.
Yeah.
You got to drop what you're doing and do it.
Yeah, and I can understand them. At first, when I used to watch those police activity videos, I was like, it's not even arterial bleed, but I understand just throwing it on. That's whatever. Yeah. But when you don't tighten it, like, come on, bro.
Yeah. Yeah. There's the Lifelike guys, they, it's like you were talking about, like they just say, hey, everybody got shot in the left arm. So they actually had a shot box. They'd shoot the shot box off.
Oh, nice.
Sitting in class, like in the middle of the lecture, I was like, bang, left arm, left arm, left arm.
Yeah.
So you dive under the table, get get cover, and then you'd have to apply your tourniquet, and then you couldn't remove the tourniquet yourself. You had to have your quote unquote battle buddy or study buddy or whatever we were calling it check for a pulse, and then if they felt a pulse, they'd mitigate that, and then once the pulse went away, then they'd take the tourniquet off. So yeah, it was you got good reps in, like real world, quote unquote. This is what it should feel like, and this is what it's going to feel like to your patient. So, and I think everybody should take those. If you're going to be carrying a tourniquet, or you're going to be carrying some type of like hemorrhage control agent, whether it's, of course, Celox is out now, but you should know how to use it. Like,
I don't know what's worse, bleeding out without a tourniquet or bleeding out with a tourniquet and not knowing how to use it.
It's not done right. He tried valiantly.
Right.
Yeah.
He didn't type
and even you talked about the cops, but even the medical providers. Yeah. If you're carrying this stuff, when you go to apply it, it shouldn't be the first time you've seen it. Yeah. Out of the wrapper. You know what I mean? Like, you should know your shit.
Yeah. Well, you could apply that to anything in our job. Like, if you've never run a K-12 before, probably cutting bars off a window isn't the time you want to learn how to do it.
Correct. Over your head.
There's some, you get some departments are like, you know how much those blades cost?
Who cares?
Who cares? Like, do you know how much it costs if you die? Like,
right.
What it's going to cost the city if you just, we had it, but we didn't train with it because it was $50 for a blade. You mean
doing a 20-question quiz over chainsaws online is not going to cut it?
Right, yeah.
No pun intended.
Yeah, Fire Rescue 1.
Apparently there's one called Target Solutions.
That's the memes we see all the time. I see a lot of Target. So I've never, dealt with Target Solutions, but it's in the meme culture,
for sure.
So it must be pretty prominent.
It's not just you. Like, you're not the only one getting beat down with
right
online CE training.
They're perfect.
It's the easy out.
They're perfect because you can look and be like, my whole department has all this training,
but you don't.
Yeah,
but you don't know how to start the saw. That's another thing that people my age get made fun of all the time, is coming in the fire service and they've never had a real world experience actually starting a chainsaw or whatever.
Yeah, I mean,
they're battery powered now, bro.
Yeah. There's guys that have never mowed a yard.
Yeah.
They've never mowed grass before. So when they come to the fire
American
service,
pastime,
right? You come in grass. I love mowing and mowing accessories, but they don't know. So it's this whole thing of, for the longest time, the fire service traditionally has been the one career that wasn't messed with. Like, we were left alone, and now that is no more.
Right.
Like, we don't have 5,800 people taking the test. We have 5.
Right.
For 2 spots. Like, 50% of you are going to get a job. And
if you don't get it this year, you'll get
the next
year.
one. Yeah. Because we got 5 people retiring.
Right.
So we're getting people that, either they don't know anything about the fire service, that's fine. But they've never had any type of like physical requirement in life.
Right.
There's no trade schools and trade classes in school anymore. Nobody has industrial tech. A lot of FFA programs are kaput. 4-H is folded up a lot of places. So the kids aren't getting exposures to real world stuff. And when they come into the fire service, we have to teach them that.
Yep.
Like, we have to teach them how to put gas in a lawnmower, or
it's a double-edged sword because you shouldn't be having to teach them that, but you have to.
Yeah.
And to make fun of people that don't know how to start a chainsaw, it's okay to make fun of them after you showed them. But to just be like, this dude can't even start a chainsaw. Well, have you tried to show him?
Right.
Yeah.
But after you show them 6 times, then you're like, okay.
Yeah, you're not getting it. What are we getting here?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, we have to completely rethink fire service training, because that's the only way we're going to survive as a career. We can hold on to as many traditions as we can. I'm a big traditions guy, but we also have to adapt to what we're getting. I mean,
definitely,
we're not getting any younger, so we have to turn this over to the next group, and I'm a little concerned. I think we're going to be okay.
Right.
But, now that I've been teaching as an instructor for a little bit now, it's definitely, I can't teach the way I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
That's not possible. So trying to adapt and overcome is really becoming important. So, yeah, I don't know.
And I don't think you can put all the blame on the other people. I mean, we can't just say, oh, this new generation sucks.
Right.
I mean, we still have to we got to figure it out.
Yeah.
Right. Because we want our profession and our job to, still be the best job in the world.
Yeah.
Because the next generation on you is always going to suck.
Yeah.
Right.
Or at least we're going to say that.
Yeah, that's what we feel like.
Yeah.
Oh, these guys are terrible. And then you're like, I guess maybe if I think about it, I wasn't that great either when I started.
Well, it's a good thing you recognize that and you're that guy that's like, okay, we have to do something. Because you can have the sharpest dude ever who's on his way out that has all this knowledge and either isn't willing to give it up or they really don't know how to communicate it.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, when guys retire, you're not, whether you like that person or not at the firehouse, that's neither here nor there. But when you lose a guy to retirement or heaven forbid a line of duty death or medical retirement, you lose a major investment and you can't replace that knowledge without time.
Yep.
Yeah.
And time is something we don't have.
Especially the knowledge that's native to your department, not just a guy that's been in the fire service.
Yeah. I mean, guys that have been in a lot of the old houses that have been remodeled 4 times, like, hey, that still has a basement under it.
Yeah, because it
built
doesn't
this
look
house. Like it. We burned twice in that basement. Well, now you can't tell there's a basement. So those type of things, like when you lose that, it upsets the apple cart for sure. So trying to regain that knowledge is key. So yeah,
totally. Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier today when I knew I was going to bring up online training, but
it has its place.
No, yeah, it does have its place. But when you have an old guy, not an old guy, but an older guy explaining to you like what a truck sounds like when it's cavitating or whatever,
right? And
just like certain things to look for. When you're watching a YouTube video, like that stuff doesn't stick with you. You don't know.
Yeah, you're just. I mean, you're clicking boxes, because you're trying to get to the next
dang box checkers.
Those dang boxes.
Gosh,
like that's my big pet peeve. Like, have you done Fire Rescue? Fire Rescue 1 Academy. Yeah. The new ones now where it's like a 30-second and they read the paragraph to you and they're like, click next. And you're like, son of a, I don't want to click next. I just want to give me the whole thing.
Yeah, give me the whole thing.
If I'm getting an hour, give me an hour lecture and then quiz me so I can move on. I don't want to drag the square into the square peg. I'm not taking a law enforcement entrance exam.
It's freaking Instagram Reels. It's next.
Right.
Yeah. I missed even when we did online CE, I used to have the document of all the information.
Yeah.
And then you had the quiz. You're like, okay. But now you still have the document on some, but you have to leave that document open for like 40 minutes.
Oh, yeah. It times you.
And it's like, it took me 5 minutes to read it.
Yeah, if you're a fast reader.
I don't have to keep it open.
Yeah. You have to go back and play the video twice because you read too fast.
I think COVID was everybody's out for that. Oh, you can't be around each other. We can't have real training. Do Fire Rescue 1.
COVID. Yeah. It tried to ruin the fire service. It made it very difficult, I think, for sure. Like, because I think it made a bigger separation between those people who have no idea what we do and those of us that do. Because unless you were in the fire service during the heightened part of COVID, you have absolutely no idea what type of living hell we went through. We went from, we had to wear gloves and safety glasses on duty, on station, to the Gumby suits, the full encapsulated stuff with respirators. And then you had to strip down and wash your uniform every time you get back from a squad call. And now we're like, we're not wearing a mask. Leave me alone.
Right. Yeah. Are you guys, have they tried to implement masks again recently?
No.
Because I know some nursing homes.
Yeah, the nursing homes are
wearing them. But I noticed like the ERs aren't.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not going to do it again. There's no way.
Yeah. We kind of collectively said, listen, we're not doing this again.
There's no way.
We jumped all through your hoops and we did all the stuff and we did all the little party tricks and either guys still got sick or they didn't, and it didn't make a difference.
Right.
I don't want to get into like was the vaccine this or
Right,
that,
right,
and eliminate the politics from it. Like truly focus on just the fact it was a pandemic and we worked through it and we still have a job to do. And people who didn't have to do it were trying to make those decisions for us and we let it happen. That's the biggest problem I have with it. We let people who don't do our job make those decisions for us.
Damn.
And we suffered greatly.
Definitely.
For it. Morale was in the shitter.
It was definitely in the shitter.
And I'm not 100% sure it's really rebounded to where it was pre-COVID.
I don't know.
Because we're burned out.
I changed jobs. I don't really know. So
Well, yeah.
And I went there and they didn't do EMS. And I was like, this is awesome.
And now
guess what? We're doing EMS
now
again.
You're doing EMS.
The big thing I took away from it is the fire service as a whole, the brass, if you will. I did not expect them not to have our backs, not where I work, but everywhere. And you had dudes threatening to get fired because they weren't getting vaccinated.
Yep.
And well, if you want a job, get it. Every place was different, but that was a big wake up call to me. Like, oh, maybe we are that expendable. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it definitely. You found out a lot about people real quick when it came down to the wire. So, I mean, I got the first vaccine. I did it because I thought it was the right thing to do. Like I was like, you know what? As a medical professional, which as a paramedic, we are medical professionals, whether you want to downplay being on the box or not, like we are medical professionals, and to each is their own. Like nobody should tell you what you should do with your body.
Right.
But if you want to, great. And I thought I was making the right decision. Like, you know what? I'm gonna set an example for the community. If these people are being forced to do it, I'll go ahead and do it because, I'll do my part. Like, you had to do all the shots for medic school, right? You had your polio vaccine and your, the MMR and all that stuff, and didn't think twice about it. Flu shot, got to be current with that. Okay, yeah, cool. And then you got to this COVID vaccine. You're like, wait a second, I'll do it, but I don't want that one. I'll only do it if I get this one. So I made sure I only got the one.
That is weird when when I was thinking about I was doing the same thing, like shopping for the right car.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Right. You don't want to get the Kia.
Are there any reviews on here yet?
Yeah. Interesting times for sure. And then they're like, well, thanks. You got the first one. Now you got to get the next one. You're like, something doesn't seem right about this.
Yeah.
First one, I didn't have any problem with. Second one, dude, it felt like my entire body was in a vice. I was sick as hell for 24 hours. Most miserable I've ever been.
Really?
And after that, I'm like, this will not continue. I don't care what they say. I will resign.
Yeah.
And they never forced us. Like it was never a do this or you're going to be fired or suspended or anything.
Right.
It was left up to our own decision, which was fantastic. But I stopped that. Like no more, for sure.
Yeah,
you're right, man.
It was being talked about at my previous department. Like, are we going to force the guys? And I don't know if I was VP or president. I don't know. I was something at the time, and I just could not get over, guys being forced to do that.
Yeah, I was a vice president during part of that, and it was. We had lots of discussions in union meetings. Like, what are we going to do if the city does this, or what are we going to do if they do this? And it was nice early on because the city made it very clear they were not. Like,
that's good.
We're not going to tell you what you're going to do.
That's good, and that's
your choice. I'm like, whew, all right.
When I joined my current department, that was one of the questions I asked them. Are you guys mandating people? Because it was right in I think maybe we were. Not at the height of COVID, but it was still a thing. And, there were definitely departments still wearing masks. I'm like, do you guys mandate your people to get vaccinated? They're like, oh, no. I'm like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's actually, I backed way off where I was teaching because they're like, you got to be fully compliant. I'm like, no. This is a part-time gig, man. No, thank you.
Right.
So now that's all gone away. So.
Have you guys had discussions about recreational marijuana?
We have, yeah. We've had several so far. And I don't know. I've never done it. honestly.
All right,
I did not inhale.
I didn't inhale.
Yeah.
Who smokes weed and doesn't inhale, nerd?
Yeah. I mean, I when it comes to that stuff, I am the nerd. I've never smoked a cigarette. I've never done chew.
Well,
I've
there's
never
really
done
no point in trying it now.
Yep.
You
right.
know?
So it just never appealed to me, really. When I was a kid, I was an asthmatic. So like the thought of having anything worse happen in my lungs after spending multiple ICUs as a kid, no thanks. So, but when I was in, actually the turning point on my opinion of marijuana changed when I was in medic school at Grant, down at Nationwide Children's. What they were doing with medical marijuana for the kids, just all sorts of studies and stuff, and the improvements that they were giving these kids was pretty crazy, like phenomenal stuff.
Like seizure disorder kind of thing?
Yeah, seizure disorders, even getting kids like, I don't want to eat. Like, because mentally they had some type of psychological thing that blocked them from eating. It helped with their appetite. And these kids were not skinny, like it did all sorts of things. So I'm like, you know what? It's not my place to say if somebody should or shouldn't. Sure. But a couple other guys we were talking, like instructor wise, are like, one dude goes, I would rather my brother go home from the job and smoke a joint and get a good night's sleep and wake up and spend the day with his family, as opposed to go home and open a fifth of Jack and find the bottom of that thing and be arrogant D-bag.
Yeah, because a lot of people are doing that right now.
Right.
Right.
There's more to it than just, hey man, you want to carry a joint in your car because it's legal now? Like, it's not that.
Yeah.
And if you're under the influence, you're under the influence.
Sure.
Like, it doesn't matter if you're drunk or you're high.
Right.
So
I think we probably just, as a society, just overthink the whole thing.
I think so. Yeah. Because government's going to get their take on it, right?
Yeah.
Like, we get
They
taxes,
should be stoked about that.
Taxes.
Right.
So they should be happy.
Yeah. 10%.
They'll get their money.
The big guy.
Yeah. Yeah. 10%. And while they're at it, they're going to keep increasing the diesel tax. So,
yeah.
Because that helps.
Yeah.
Does it though?
I don't know. Taxes for a different conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't know. So like, we'll see what the weed does. I don't know. I think you should be able to regulate yourself.
Definitely.
That's really what it boils down to.
Yeah. I mean, the overshadowing thing is alcohol. Like, you can't, that'll ruin your life way faster than anything else. So you got to determine whether you're going to, I mean, I'm drinking right after this. Don't get me wrong. But
yeah. Because, I mean,
I'm drunk right now.
The question was, like, if you smoke marijuana today and, like, you go back to work in 48 hours. Yeah. We get every third day rotation. At least I think all three of us are on the same 24, 48. So, I get off work at 6:30 in the morning. I go home, get some breakfast, smoke marijuana at 8 o'clock.
A little wake and bake.
Yeah, a little wake and bake.
That's how I know you never smoked it, because you keep calling it marijuana.
Weed, pot, whatever. So if you do that, I mean, I don't know what the time frame is until you'll
pop hot.
Yeah, you'll immediately pop hot on your next duty day. You come back in at 6:31. They're like, hey, it's drug test time. You're like, shit. Yeah. You're going to test hot. But are you under the influence?
Right.
No. At least I don't think so.
That's another thing we're overthinking.
What does that mean?
Just have a little, 2 little flashcards of a funny picture and a not funny picture. And if you laugh, you're high. And if you don't laugh, you're not high. And if while they're talking to you, you have a bag of Funyuns.
Yeah.
You're like, all right,
M&Ms and Funyuns.
Right.
Yeah.
I smoked 3 days ago.
I still, and I think they're working on it, but I think once there is a test, just like alcohol, like, a breathalyzer or whatever they have to do, if they can say, all right, you're under the influence right now, or you're not, I mean, I think that's going to change everything.
Yeah.
Well, we were just talking about this too, like, most collective bargaining agreements cannot be superseded by the municipal bargaining agreement. Like, meaning if I'm a union worker for local whatever fire department, the street worker, the sanitation workers agreement doesn't affect me.
Correct.
Like, or HR, what they sign doesn't mean anything to me. So the one city, their city's agreement says zero tolerance drug workplace, right? Well, the fire department, CBA, says zero tolerance for illegal substances. Weed's now legal. So is that technically now an illegal substance? And are they?
Yeah,
okay?
And almost everything in.
I might have to check my contract after this.
Everybody check your CBA.
Everything in most CBAs are, at least in Ohio, say ORC. It doesn't say federal statute, whatever.
Right. Yeah.
That's wild.
Interesting.
I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. So their goal is they got a guy that's getting ready to retire in like February. So he's going to maybe be the test guy. This last day, like, hey man, you want to ride home in the engine? Yeah, but stop by the snack bar. I don't know. Well, it's gonna be interesting because I think there's benefits for guys that would be responsible with it because I think we all know somebody. We've come to work and like, I think maybe they're still drunk,
right?
And they're like, hey, I'm gonna go upstairs and sleep it off, or hey, I'm gonna be in the back. I'm gonna sleep it off. Leave me the hell alone. You're like, yeah, you shouldn't be here. But
right,
I don't know.
Or even if they're not drunk, if they're going home and they're pounding that fifth of Jack,
right,
and they're at least hungover, or if they're in a terrible mood,
right,
you don't want to work around those people.
Yeah,
they are not contributing.
They really need to make breakthroughs faster with the like psilocybin mushrooms and ayahuasca for like first responders and veterans and stuff, because people have to go out of the country to get treated for PTSD. And I know there's this big thing with first responders are doing it too.
Interesting.
Yeah. I wish they would move a little bit faster.
Are you talking about using
psychedelics
for like recalling events and getting it to like, you bring the recollection, the event up, talk it out. And then when the effect subsides, it's
and a lot of these guys that have been like career long, like army guys or military guys, don't do drugs at all. And then they go to this place in Mexico, or there's a few places, and they basically like do I think it's IV psilocybin, mushrooms. And they come back and they're just like new people. And most of them quit drinking, quit smoking. Yeah. And it's not even like a question for them. So if we could go further that direction, that would be fantastic.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to think of what it's called. I can't think of it now off the top of my head, but in dealing with like PTS and first responders.
And ketamine. Sorry to cut you off.
Ketamine.
Going down the K-hole.
The K-hole.
But yeah.
K-hole. What a fantastic medication. My gosh. When we got that in our protocol, I'm like, okay. It was like first day we got it, I had to use it on a patient. And I'm like, this is fantastic. He stopped fighting the police and he sang the Battle Hymn of the Republic until he went out. So it was legit awesome. So yeah, I mean, it protects us, protects them. But yeah. So anyways, it's like the psychedelic effect, but they use the lights and they alternate the lights, and it brings back, certain things, and you talk through it and whatnot. So supposedly that has a really good effect, although they said there could also be detrimental too. Like it can bring too much back too quick, depending on the light pattern.
Interesting. I might have to research that.
Tim's going to be like shining his freaking his stream light in his face.
I think the Center of Excellence does some of that through
really?
IFF. I went through the first couple, like the intro courses for peer support.
Oh, did you?
So I've done that. And I want to go become peer support certified. That's my goal. So
I think I'd be down for that.
Yeah. It's important. I've lost two friends to suicide in the job, and both, like I wasn't like super close best friends with, but I worked with both of them. The one guy I taught with, and he was actually the second guy that took his life. He was my first medic student when I was a new medic. So like I'm cleared to be a medic now. And then this guy starts riding as a student. Like he rode with me a bunch. So and then we started teaching together. So
it's a gut punch for sure.
It is. I don't claim to be a super knowledgeable person, but I always want to be the person that could be talked to if somebody wants to reach out. Like my phone number is always available.
Do you feel that mental health in the fire service is like evolving, like help I don't know how I want to put that, but it's like I always called it a taboo. Like mental health was always taboo in the fire service.
You don't want to talk about it. Like, right. What do you mean you're not a tough guy? Just do your job and go home. Do you think that's
evolving in the right direction?
I think so. I think that's probably, aside from training, the new generation coming in the fire service, I think mental health in the fire service is one of the biggest challenges we face as a career. Because there's still enough guys from like the old way of thinking. They're like, I don't need to talk to anybody. Just we see it every day. Go home, deal with it. And that's we all know that's bullshit. Like,
correct.
You should be able to talk to somebody, whether it's, whether it's your wife or whether it's your mom or whether it's a coworker. Like, you should be able to sit down and talk to them. Like, hey man, did you think that was as messed up as I did? Like, there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
And I think we're getting better. I think we should continue to get better with it.
The problem, and I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but like the problem, at least in our line of work, because it's so different, our wives and our family, they don't get it.
They don't.
Even though if they want to help or whatever, it's different.
It is. And that's like my crazy intro of my upbringing. Like, my mom and dad they both saw stuff. Like, mom saw stuff in the ICU and the ER, and dad saw stuff. So they talked about a lot of stuff. And I grew up, I didn't hear every conversation they talked about, but they talked it out. And, dad saw a lot of stuff, mom saw a lot of stuff. So I'm used to that type of thing. There are certainly people that aren't used to that. Like my wife, she doesn't come from first responders. Being married to me is her experience with first responders. So we actually went to, have you guys heard the bridge retreat down in Columbus? It's in the Dublin area. So the first responders bridge retreat, it's free. And it's a long weekend. It's like Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then you go home, and it's paid for. You come down, spouses are included, and it's police, fire, predominantly dispatch, some dispatchers, and it's all about dealing with stress of the job. So PTS or suicidal ideations or just stress in general. And it allows the spouse to have some breakout sessions to talk to other spouses and compare kind of like what they're going through and realize that, oh, hey, I'm not alone.
Sure.
Like, I thought maybe this was a unique situation, but apparently my husband and their husband also comes home kind of grouchy in the morning.
Sure.
And I'm guilty of that. Like, I'll come home and I don't want to talk, or I need a moment of quiet or something. So, but Lisa's very good with that. Like, she truly is my rock with stuff. So taking her to that allowed her to see some of the things that spouses don't normally see by being able to hear other stories. And then she shared some of hers, and I don't know what all she talked about, but she said she was able to share some of her experiences with other firewives.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's really good. I would recommend anybody go to it. I wanted to do it because I had a friend who was having some problems, and I recommended he go to it because I heard it was good. But I'm like, I'm going to go to this because
if you're going to be recommending it,
if I'm going to recommend it, I want to know it's worth sending somebody to. So I did it, and it was fantastic. I got a lot out of it. So
very good.
Actually, a couple guys I used to work with were down there the same weekend. So it was kind of like a little reunion, and I met up with some other cool people, and it turned into networking, some other instructors and stuff too. So
very cool.
Really, really cool opportunity. I highly recommend it. Anybody wants to do it.
That's awesome, man. I think one of the big problems, just talking out loud now I'm thinking about it, is I think a lot of people get to a certain point where they think they have to reach a certain year or a certain number of bad calls.
Right.
And this one guy, there's a viral video that went around where he's talking about trauma trophies. Have you seen that?
I have not seen
where
that.
He's like, oh, I haven't seen as much as you have. I haven't gotten to this level.
Right.
Where they think they're going to talk to, like if I wanted to talk to you about a call, but I know you've been in the service longer than me and you've probably seen worse stuff, I don't want to try to compare it to what you have. So I'm just going to
not talk
like
about it.
defer it off until maybe I see something worse. And if you think about it, that's probably what a lot of people do. You know,
it makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. it shouldn't be like, it's not a competition,
Right.
It shouldn't be viewed that way. Like, I can't talk to him because I've only seen one dead person, or I've been to only one GSW victim.
Right. Like it, but the worst call that senior guy has been on could be your first call. So it could be both of your guys' worst call, and you have 2 decades between you.
Yeah.
And I just think you're thinking like, oh, I'm just cutting my teeth. That was a pretty bad call, but there's probably going to be worse. So,
right.
I can handle it later.
Because it's also a cumulative effect.
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
It's no different than cancer in the fire service. That one fire call probably isn't the call that got you cancer, but if you go to 10 of those, now you have 10 exposures, and it's probably going to be the one. So just like a really bad trauma, one of them may or may not be something that sets you back, but you go to 10, 15 of those, a whole career of them, you probably need to talk to somebody.
Right.
And there's no shame in that.
Right.
I think that's my big pet peeve is like when I hear guys like, whatever, dude, don't do that to somebody.
Right.
Everybody's got their own battles. Everybody's got an internal battle. So you have no idea what they're battling with. So it might not be that bad of a call in reality, but whatever else they have going on could be the one thing that sets them over. And you don't want to downplay it, for their sake.
Yeah.
So you got to be there for them, whether it's a brother or sister in the fire service, you should be there for them, period. So, yeah.
Absolutely, man. Well, if you're listening to this, you need to talk to somebody. You can talk to us, call your buddy. And if you haven't reached out to your buddies in a while, you should give them a call.
Absolutely.
Call your buddies.
Yeah.
If you're still listening, remember to like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, if you like what we do, go ahead and give us a like, share it with some of your friends, and give us a smash that subscribe button. I hate doing that, but
it feels so
we'd appreciate it if you hit that subscribe button.
We really would.
What you should do is point to the box on the screen and then have it not be anywhere near where you're pointing to.
Let me think here.
Subscribe.
I think it's over here. Over here? Do something over here. Hit all the buttons right over there.
Yeah. Just do what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
Put it that way.
Well, thanks for coming on, man.
Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Had a great convo.
It's really good.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
So, you want to shout anything out?
No, I think I'm good.
Cool.
I think I've probably talked enough.
I'm good, man.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
See you later.
Later.